that an empty chair?
I am looking for a motion for nomination for moderator.
I move to nominate Attorney Greg M. as the moderator of the meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second it?
Okay, are there any further nominations? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay.
Opposed? None. That's unanimous.
Oh, wait, you guys are voting. Oh, okay.
Registered voters.
So we need the green thing. Oh,
Right.
all right, all in favor for Greg M.
Greg M?
Greg
M.
M.
I am.
Okay.
The city writers
All
here.
right, all opposed?
We're good.
Okay, all set, it's a vote.
That's fine.
So now you have to swear him in.
Yep.
Okay. I, Greg M.,
I, Greg M.
do swear that I will support
Do swear that I'll support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Maine, as long as I shall remain a citizen thereof, and that I shall discharge to the best of my abilities the duties incumbent on me as moderator of the Sebago budget meeting in the town of Sebago on May 7, 2025, according to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Maine. So I'll sign this. Okay. So my first order of business is to swear in the ballot clerks. And I'm just representing the meeting that, well, like 15 minutes ago, I met with the ballot clerks and swore them in. They took an oath that's very similar to the one I just took, and they signed an oath, and they signed a little sheet. If someone objects to me doing it ahead of time, I'm happy to do it again. But seeing no objection, we'll consider them sworn in. And I will give the, oops. There it is. You keep, and then I think before I get into stuff, I'm going to introduce Lou Gasinski, the superintendent, who's going to give a brief presentation about the budget.
Yeah, I'll take that. Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll take care of it.
Okay, where's my computer at? John, did you, there it is. Oh, you moved it over here, okay. Thank you. Hi, everyone, can you hear me? Do I need a microphone? Okay, I've been to a number of these all my life. I love these types of meetings. My name's Lou Gasinski. I'm the superintendent. I've been involved in Sebago now for about 6 months and hit the ground running. We've had a couple of contracts that have been negotiated with our teachers, and they were successful. Congratulations to the school committee on that. Then we got right into the budget. We've been working on this budget now for a few months. I want to thank the number of people that are here tonight that helped me develop the budget. I presented to the school committee back in March, and then had an opportunity to talk to selectmen back in April about the budget. So I want folks to know that the budget is posted on our website at Sebago. What's the call numbers for that? Sebago Learners.
Sebago Learners.
Yeah, SebagoLearners.org. And I also just posted the audit. We just had our audit come in. We're clear, there are no problems financially, so we're on solid ground with regard to our audit. So that makes me feel really good. But just to thank tonight, I want to thank the school committee members, Donnell Allen, Rich Biancilli, did I do that right? Bianculli, and Jennifer. And Jennifer, I'm spacing your last name, I'm sorry. Skinner. And Wendy Newcomb. And thank you for all your help. And Del Peavy is our special ed administrator. I asked him to be here tonight in case there's questions about special ed. I do have a background in special ed, but that's his job. I'm going to let him answer those questions. And right here, this nice young lady is Susan Tuttle. She's our contracted business administrator. She is extremely knowledgeable. and I asked her to be here tonight as well. And of course, our principal, John LaPierre, who's here. It's been great to get to know, and everybody has been really helpful, and I want to thank you all for being here tonight, so thank you so much. I wanted to also say that I love the kids here, just wonderful group of children. I've had a chance, I eat lunch, I love food, and I eat lunch with the kids every day I'm here, and I can't say enough about our lunch program. We have great lunch food service workers. I see the kids in the hallway. One thing, I'm semi-retired, so I love this job because I still get to engage with students. And I worked in much larger school districts, worked in York, and I've worked over in New Hampshire in larger districts. And one of the things I really missed when I was in larger districts is that I didn't have as much contact with kids. And so it's been really a blessing for me to hang out with kids. And some of them are, approaching my grandkids' age, so it's really nice. It gives me a connection to children. I really enjoy it. So with that said, I'm going to start off and talk to you about the budget. I'm going to give you the big picture, also known as the Douglas Mountain View. I'm going to talk about where we're headed for fiscal year 26. So with that said, I'm going to get started. And so I just wanted to give you some background information about our school, some frequently asked questions. Right now in our school district, SSD stands for Sebago School District, or department I should say. We have 26 full-time employees and 10 part-time employees. Very small, but strong hearts and huge people that fill the shoes every day that work with our children. We also have 2 unions now. We used to have 3, and they were kind of brought down from SAU 61. There were multiple unions there, and the unions came down here, and we've consolidated the educational support and non-teachers union into one, and there's 6 folks in that union, and then we have 9 folks in the teachers union. So that's what we have for staff and how they're kind of organized. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about enrollment. This year, we go on October 1st counts for the state of Maine. We have to report the enrollment at that period in time. And as you can see, we started off with, we have 222 children. We have 14 students in pre-K. That's what PK stands for, pre-K. And then we have 102 in grades kindergarten through 5. And then at Lakes Region in grades 6 through 8, we have 43. Other middle schools, there are some parents that have their kids go to other middle schools with superintendent agreements. We have 6 of those students somewhere else. Lakes Region High School, 47. Other high schools, 10. So the total is 222. What we projected out for next year is 223. However, and that's a change of 1, positive, in the positive direction. However, we may have more preschoolers come in than we anticipate, or kindergartens. It depends on, how people move in and shift around. So that could change. And the numbers, there's some highlights there that when there may be other pre-K and K students that enroll over the summer. Some parents of current 5th grade students may request a middle school other than Lakes Region. However, we have to send 75% of our students to Lakes Region. And some parents choose to go elsewhere. And then some parents of our current 8th grade students may request a high school other than Lakes Region. However, the tuition cannot be higher than what we budget for Lakes Region. And I'm going to get into that tuition question in a moment. Special ed students, we're not that different than any other district in the state of Maine. Those are pretty typical numbers. In our K through 5 population, we have 26 identified students. That's about 25%. A lot of the numbers have gone up due to COVID. There's some kids across the state of Maine and also in New England and across the country. Kids still dealing with the aftermath of COVID, loss of learning, some social emotional difficulties, and hopefully they'll be on the mend and moving forward. In grades 6 through 8, we have 10 students, that's about 20%. 9 through 12, 8, that's 13%, so a total of about 19.5%. We have 1 student that's in an outer district placement. I know Dell worked hard in past couple of years to return students to Sebago, which we love. We want our kids at their home school. But there are some kiddos that have significant challenging behaviors or cognitive difficulties that require out-of-district placement. They go to special purpose private school. We have one. And so that's that. And then the budget. So this is the budget. It's been vetted by the school committee. I did share it with the selectmen. They asked really great questions when I presented to them. Right now, what you'd be voting on election. I'm sorry, I think it's in June 10th, I believe. Tonight we'll discuss the different warrant articles. But the increase to our budget is $268,446, or 5.32%. I know it was much higher last year because you wanted to get your house in order, your building in order. We've done a lot of projects since my arrival. We placed the oil tank. That's come to fruition. We had no problems with the oil tank getting it out of the ground and putting a new oil tank in. We've done some work on ventilation in the building. Budget's down compared to last year, but it's at 5.32%. And statewide, I attend superintendent meetings. I know I've asked John to go to a few meetings because I work 2 days a week. He goes to some meetings, and we're seeing a range of increases anywhere between 5 to 14% in the state of Maine. So we're not doing too bad on that front. So, next one. So, here's the real story. The major budget increases for fiscal year 26. Regular tuition, and this is only for kids in grades, it should be 9 through 12, not 8. The total budget increase, 73.75% of the increase is due to tuition at Lakes Region. That's where the money is going, most of the money is going. And when you look at Lake Region, we're in year 7 of a 10-year contract. And I'm looking forward to renegotiating that contract, to be honest with you. When you look at the current tuition rate for K-8, this would include our middle schools, 6, 7, and 8. The tuition over there is $13,258 per student. And the state average is $12,067. We're projecting that tuition is going to go up to $14,584. And when you get to high school, the current Lake Region tuition at high school is $15,961 per student, and there's a state average of $14,081, and we're projecting that tuition is going to go up to $17,557 next year. So that's a bugaboo for us. And when you're challenged with tuition, and I've worked in smaller school districts, I've worked in an SEU where we had multiple small school districts, and we sent kids up to Conway, New Hampshire, and that was always the battle. The battle was you're paying huge amounts of money because you don't have control over that, although you have a contract. You've got to really do a good job of negotiating that contract. You don't really have a lot of control over those tuition rates. And so that's our challenge. How do we get what our younger kids need and still pay the higher cost for kids to go to middle and high school? And by the way, this is on our website, this PowerPoint, as well as the line item budget and our audit. So that's a real challenge for Sebago, is the tuition. And then some other areas where we saw increases in the budget, employee benefits. We had some folks retire last year. We hired new folks that need family plans versus retirees that were on a 2-person plan. So we've had some changes in terms of employee benefits and also wages. Our wages are up that amount, $41,686. And then we have some special ed contracted services. I think it's speech and language, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
Speech and language pathology services, and that's based on need. That's based on real kids needing those services. So that's an increase area. And I looked at items that were over $10,000. And so we're seeing an increase in contracted services at 15.6. That's not atypical. I see that in districts all over the place. We do want to increase our social worker from 3 days to 4 days, and that's a cost of $13,457. We really need additional time for that person. to work with our students. That's driven by student need, and we're saying to you honestly that our kids need that extra service and counseling from our social worker. And then, something that's near and dear to my heart, we're talking about real education, here is math and reading books. We need to upgrade. And I know if folks have questions about that, John can answer it, but we're budgeting $10,600 for math and reading books. So those are the major increases for the budget. And then let's talk about some decreases. We have a redemption principal of the tune of $26,082. That line's down 51%. Elementary repairs and maintenance, there was some money last year budgeted for some work on this building. That's down $26,000. Special education tuition is down $56,374. We had elementary school repairs. We took care of that, so we don't need that money fiscal year 26. And then we had another area in the budget of redemption and principal. And then reduction in force. I'm going to talk a little bit about this. We have a part-time gifted and talented teacher. We're going to eliminate that position. And that position was serving 2 students. And we want to serve more students. And the way we're going to do it is I've asked John to get certified as a curriculum director. He has the credentials for that. So he recently got certified. And he's going to work with a team of teachers here to provide that service. So it's going to be kind of like special ed, where a team comes together and says, how can we best serve our gifted and talented students? Let's serve more of these students. And I'm interested in seeing more in the arts, because gifted and talented is not just in math and reading. It can be in the arts, it can be physical education, it can be in other areas as well. And so we're not giving up on gifted and talented programming. We're just creating a new application to gifted and talented. I hope that makes sense to folks. So we're able to save a little bit of money there, but also look at it differently when it comes to providing services for our gifted and talented students, including those who have gifted in music, language, and kids that are gifted in the arts, the other arts. So wanted to make that known. The other thing is the decrease in the part-time position of gifted and talented, that offsets the increase of the social worker as well. So, as I mentioned before, the social worker position was roughly a tad over 13,000. We're saving 22 here, and so it helps us out in a couple different ways. And then I wanted to talk about the cost centers because you're going to be voting or talking about them tonight. When you look at our budget, we have 11 cost centers. Career technical and education, which is on the bottom, we don't deal with that because we don't have high school students to budget for. That 61 can deal with that. But we have regular ed, it breaks it down by regular education, regular instruction, that's over half of our budget, goes to regular ed. Special education, about 22%, and that's pretty typical. I've seen it as high as 25% for special ed, but it's pretty typical to see those numbers. And then we have other instruction. It's minimal. It's for, I think it's for curriculum work, John, that we've talked about. And then student staff supports. That's another area. That's about 3.68% of the budget. System administration, which is me in the central office, my administrative assistant, and that also includes Susan because our business administration work. That represents 3.75% of the budget. And then school administration would be John in his office, working it on down 4.23% of the budget. Transportation, we have to transport students, and that's roughly 3.5%. And then we have facilities maintenance, 5.85%. There's a dollar amount for that. And the debt service, that amount is 2.33% of the budget. And then we have all other expenditures, which is money that we use for school lunches to offset. Help me with that.
So it's a budgeted transfer to help the operations
right.
food service program.
Right. It's a transfer into the food service program. And then just as the pie chart, this is a typical looking school district pie chart. I mean, you see more money, bigger piece of the pizza pie is for regular ed, and a smaller piece, almost a quarter of it is special ed, and then other little tiny pieces thrown in there. It's just another visual of what I'm trying to convey. And then I want to talk a little about anticipated grant funds. And these funds are what we've received in the past. We don't get a heck of a lot of money from the federal government. IDA stands for the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or also known as local entitlement. We're projecting $65,000 in special ed, $15,000 in Title I, which is program and services, customized instruction for students, and then $3,000 for teacher prep and workshops and other professional development. And then Title IV, $10,000, opportunities for enrichment activities. And then we get a rural education grant of about $5,000. So the total is just a tad under $100,000. But I want you to bear in mind that federal cuts could impact these revenue sources. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen in 2 weeks, but we could potentially have some revenue cuts from the federal government, although we don't get a lot from them now, from the government now. And then in terms of fund balance, we have unanticipated cost reserve that in a fund balance of $100,000, and we have capital improvement reserve of $102,623, and that total amounts to $202 and some change. So that's committed fund balance, and then we have unassigned fund balance right currently of an amount of $40,257, which gives you a grand total of just under $250,000. Now, the unassigned fund balance could be as high as 5% of your previous year's budget, and we're nowhere near that. This is the next slide. When you look at the unassigned fund balance, we currently have $40,257, and then when you look at our estimated revenues and our estimated expenditures, you get a delta or a change of $30,000. So we're anticipating $30,000 that would go into an unassigned fund balance, which would bring the total to $70,257. However, you could have a maximum based on, what the state would allow of $252,000 and $73, $252,073, and that would be the 5% limit. I always like to, build that over time for unanticipated issues that may come up in the school department. So, with that said, that's my presentation, and I'm going to turn it back over to Attorney M, who will walk us through the different warrant articles. So, thank you very much for your listening to me and your patience.
All right, thank you. Okay, so, can you hear me okay? Okay. So, again, I took care of swearing in the ballot clerks. Yes?
Can I ask one question about that budget?
Yeah, so we'll discuss the budget as we go through this, but I'll let you ask a question if we got like a discrete
Why
question.
was there 2 redemptions of principal? What was the?
We had
So one of them is our debt service to MSAD 61. That is then our 14.33% of their debt service that's in our withdrawal agreement. And then the other one is we had a $240,000 general obligation bond with Interskogan Bank. And that is now reduced, and we trade that in for a lease agreement with Quorum Savings for the transition to the heat pumps.
Okay.
So there were two reductions in those 2 areas. Yeah.
Okay, so my next thing is to establish the rules of procedure. I'm going to use the main moderator's manual, which is the procedures that are pretty universally used across the state for town meetings and for school budget meetings. Is there any objection to that? Seeing none, we'll do that. By law, if you're not registered to vote in the town, you're not permitted to speak at the meeting. However, you're not allowed to speak without consent of 2/3 of the voters present. However, we have folks that the superintendent introduced, John LaPierre, the principal, Del Peavy, the special ed director, and Susan Tuttle, the business administrator, who are not registered voters, but they're here. And I'm just going to ask your consent to let them speak, just to answer questions or provide information on this budget. If they wanted to speak towards, for or against something, that's not what I'm asking for right now, and we take that up as it came up. Okay? Is there any problems with having these people speak just to answer questions and provide information? Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so this is a town meeting, and you're the voters that show up are the legislative body, and your job is to approve a school budget tonight, and I think on June 10th, there's a secret ballot referendum in town the voters in town can vote yes or no to the budget that's approved tonight. Okay, I'll talk about that a little at the end too. So just as an overview, the business of the meeting is the warrant and these warrant articles. I'm going to take up each article in turn. I'll read the article. I'll look for a motion and a second. And once we have that, I'll open the floor up for discussion on the article. And let's keep the discussion germane to what the article's about. When I recognize you, just state your name and run questions through me. I'll find somebody to answer them. I'm not going to go through too much procedural stuff because we don't have a huge crowd. So, but I will say one thing, just kind of a tool you can have is sometimes debate goes on for a while, discussion goes on for a while. I don't have authority to stop it, but you do. So if you think we've talked about something enough and you want to vote, just go on to a vote. You can say, yes, move the question. And it's an extraordinary motion to stop debate, so it requires 2/3 of vote. But if that's approved, we can stop talking about something and go right to a vote. So let's see. And I think not everybody understands how a school budget's organized, so I'm just going to quickly orient everyone on the warrant. Articles 2 through 12. Superintendent showed those cost centers. Those are the expenditure articles. Cost centers in different categories. And those are authorizing the school committee to expend money for those things. The next 3 articles raise funds. In other words, it allows the school to assess for education and in those amounts. Article 16 just summarizes the total amount of the budget. And then, and that's actually the budget that's approved that we send to the voters on June 10th. And these other remaining articles are just things that the legislative body has authority to approve. And since you're gathered here, it's convenient to take care of those things. So there we go. Let's just launch into this. Okay, so starting with Article 1, this is regular instruction. To see what sum the Sebago School Department will be authorized to expend for regular instruction, the school committee recommends $2,825,679. Is there a motion? Is that article?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, and so we have a motion and a second. I'm going to open the floor up for discussion. So, yes.
Great, okay, can we combine 2 through 12 and vote on them once?
It's kind of like taking up articles out of order, and so I think if 2/3 of you want to do that, we can. I mean, if we do that, we won't talk about these things individually. So just fair warning on that. But if we want to combine the motion is to. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm screwing up this procedure because there's a motion on the floor. Sorry. And maybe after this article, I'll recognize you for that motion.
Okay, great.
All right. So again, Article 2, regular instruction in the recommended amount of $2,825,679. Is there any discussion on that article or questions? So this is the first article. I'll take a little pause, make sure. Seeing none, we're going to vote.
I don't have a question,
Okay.
I do. Substitute salaries. Do you find it difficult to get substitutes for your school? Is that a statewide issue?
I haven't personally seen it, but I'm going to defer to John because he's here every day. But when I see his notes he sends out a school hub note, and I always see who's out.
Mhm.
I'll look at that daily when I'm
Yeah.
home, and there seems to always be a sub. But John, I'm gonna let you answer that one.
Yep, so we have over the past 3 years kind of created a nice little cohort of substitute teachers, mostly retired teachers, some younger people that are just looking to be part of the school. So we have, I would say, about 6 people that are our go-tos. And we occasionally, very rarely do we not have enough for the day. So that cohort's really done a nice job for us. Now, if we lose that cohort, we'll be challenged like other school districts, but we currently aren't in that position.
And that line is up because, excuse me, may I direct you? That line is up because it's historically been under budgeted. So that line is up.
And where is the paid family medical leave mandate, private standing, where is that budgeted?
In the FICA line.
And the substitute FICA?
Yeah.
Or just in
All-
FICA?
All
lines
FICA.
for everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't separate it out. Thank you.
Any other discussion on Article 1? Seeing none, we're gonna vote, I think you got a colored card when you checked in, so we're gonna vote by show of cards. So all those in favor of Article 2 and the amount recommended? Okay, thank you. Opposed? Okay, so Article 2 passes, and I'll recognize you for this motion. Well, you've made the motion, so the motion was to take up Articles 3 through 12 as one and vote on them as a lot. Is there a second to that motion?
Second?
Okay, so there's a second. So again, this is, I'm going to require a 2/3 vote on this. So all those in favor of taking up 3 through 12 together in one vote, show your cards. Thank you. Opposed? Okay, we don't have 2/3, so I'm going to say that motion fails. And we're going to continue on to Article 3. I appreciate the effort, though.
I was gonna say the same thing.
So Article 3, to see what sum the Sebago School Department will be authorized to expend for special ed instruction, the school committee recommends $1,217,515. Is there a motion?
So moved. Seconded.
All right, so there's like a second, a third, and a fourth. Okay. Okay, is there any discussion on Article 3 on special education? Yes?
I'm just curious, seems like a lot. I mean, I'm the vote for budget. It just seems like a lot, so I'm just curious where it's all going to.
A lot of it is going to Lake Region Middle School, Lake Region High School, for those students that are identified with disabilities that we send there. Like Lou said, we have one student who's outplaced at special purpose private school. And it's, overall, it's up, the special ed line is up 5.2, I think that's 5.2%. And I think the total amount that it increased was 50-something thousand. And a good chunk of that increase was actually the social work piece, because we increased the social work and that was on the special ed side. We also changed the percentage of the social worker was actually the social worker and / guidance counselor. And that social worker is now, the full 4 days will be in special, I think that's right, John. Actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Susan.
It's 3 days special ed.
3 days special ed.
One day guidance.
So the amount of time in special ed increased, the additional day was also attributed to special ed. So that increase fell in the special ed line. That was probably one of the biggest pieces. We also talked about the contracted services that increased. That primarily has to do with speech and language. We have a contracted agency that we contract with and their rates went up. And well, we're very happy with them and we'd like to keep them. The rates went up to a competitive rate, which most of our neighboring districts are already paying.
Is the Lake Region charges per pupil in addition to the per pupil cost, is that?
So yes, the contract is very specific that we pay tuition, the regular tuition for those students, plus we pay for every single item that they receive through special education.
And, you know, folks, I'd like to give some kudos to our new superintendent, and it's something that was started by our former superintendent, Steve Conley, but Lou has continued that in negotiating with some of those rates with Lake Region, because there was a certain point where we were being overcharged for those services. They were being labeled as one-on-one, where they were in group settings. So Lou was pretty instrumental in getting those rates back down to ground level where they should be. I still think it's, you know, like you saw with the regular instruction charges, you know, we're higher than the state average to Lakes Region. It's something that we really need to look into going forward when we come to the end of that contract.
Yeah, and we're getting a little informal, and
Okay.
just raise your hand and I'll recognize you to
Okay.
speak.
So, the other issue that we face by sending students to Lake Region is we're not always certain where they reside, some of them. And so I've done a lot of work in the past couple of months trying to verify where students reside. And that's a challenge. Once they leave your district, you've got to stay on top of where they reside, because there are some students that move out and Sebago 61 will continue to think they live in Sebago, but they may not necessarily live in Sebago. And I'm dealing with that issue right now. So you've got to really stay on top of where students are at.
Is there any other discussion? Yes, sir.
How many years left on the Lakes Region contract?
3.
And that includes the special ed?
Yeah.
Any other discussion, questions on Article 3? Okay, seeing none, we're going to vote on Article 3 in the amount recommended. All those in favor, so cards. Thank you. Opposed? Okay, Article 3 passes. Article 4, to see what sum the Sebago School Department will be authorized to expend for career and technical education, the school committee recommends 0. Motion?
So moved.
Okay, any discussion on a $0 number?
We don't have a career and technical education portion to our school, so it should be no surprise.
All right, all those in favor of this big ticket item? Thank you. Opposed? Okay, Article 4 passes. Article 5, to see what sum the Sebago School Department will be authorized to expend for other instruction, the school committee recommends $2,000.
So moved. Seconded.
Thank you. Any discussion on Article 5? Yes. What is other?
Good question. Like
Co-curricular and extracurricular activities.
field trips, the special things that kids go to, you know.
Everything that the PTO can fundraise
Right.
for.
Yeah.
Spice doesn't.
And Spice. I mean, there's a lot of good helping groups here.
I can
so.
only speak for PTO.
That number's down, that's a low number compared to some other places, because we have some really crazy volunteer groups in this town.
Okay. Any other comments, discussion on Article 5? Okay, all those in favor of Article 5 and the amount recommended? Thank you. Opposed? Okay, Article 5 passes in the amount recommended. Article 6, to see what sum the Sebago School Department will be authorized to expend for student and staff support. The school committee recommends $195,401. Motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any discussion on Article 6? Yes.
There's a school nurse under this, cost center. Is that under is that a, contracted position under professional teachers or another contract?
Yes,
The
her
school
salary
Yes.
nurse
is based on
salary
teachers.
is,
It's based on the collective bargaining agreement of teachers. She's not,
okay, the teachers.
yeah,
Okay.
she's not a contracted service vendor from
Right,
outside.
right, outside, okay. And when will those contracts be, if they've been ratified, when will they they be posted on the website?
They're gonna be posted, it just got ratified, there's one thing we're buttoning up, but I anticipate that those being posted in the next week or so.
And there's 3 of them,
Two.
2.
So one, there used to be 3 unions, 2 combined into one. So we have a teachers union, and then we have a education support and non-instructional folks.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other discussion on Article 6? Okay, all those in favor of Article 6, the amount recommended? Thank you, opposed? Okay, Article 6 passes, the amount recommended. Article 7, to see what sum the Sebago School Department will be authorized to expend for system administration. The school committee recommends $199,227. Thank you. Any discussion on Article 7? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Okay, Article 7 passes and is not recommended. Article 8, to see what sum the Sebago School Department will be authorized to expend for school administration. School committee recommends $224,668.
So moved. Second?
Thank you. Any discussion, questions about Article 8? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of Article 8 and the amount recommended? Thank you. Opposed? Okay, Article 8 passes. Article 9, to see what sum the Sebago School Department will be authorized to expend for transportation and buses. The school committee recommends $185,711.
So moved. Second?
Thank you. Is there any discussion on Article 9, transportation?
Wait,
Yes.
sorry. Where are the substantial increases? I do have the line item budget here, but just to hear from the superintendent, what's the primary driving?
The driver in that one, salaries for bus drivers, salaries and benefits primarily. And I will tell you, bus drivers are, yeah, and maintenance, repairs. But bus drivers, they're golden. If we have them, we want to keep them. And, you know, they're not making physician salaries. They put up with a lot. They drive on some pretty, you know, dangerous roads in the winter, and they have to deal with the kids. And so, thank God we have them, and we're lucky, to be honest with you. So it's really the benefits and salaries as well as maintenance of the buses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of Article 9? Thank you. Opposed? Okay, Article 9 passes in the amount recommended. Article 10, to see what sum the Sebago School Department will be authorized to expend for facilities maintenance. The school committee recommends $310,793.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Any discussion on Article 10? Okay. All those in favor of Article 10? Thank you. Opposed? Okay, Article 10 passes and the amount recommended. Article 11, to see what sum the Sebago School Department will be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments. The school committee recommends $123,905.
So moved. Second?
Thank you. Any discussion on Article 11? Yes.
So the general obligation bond that was paid off in March of 2025, where is that funded? Is that under that cost center?
No, that is
It's
up in
redemption of
facilities
principal?
maintenance. This debt service is just the 60-month debt.
Okay.
Any other questions,
Thank you.
discussion on 11?
That was a 61 debt, just so you
Right,
hear
right,
that.
yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
all those in favor? Article 11? Thank you. Opposed? Okay, Article 11 passes the amount recommended. Article 12, to see what sum the Sebago School Department will be authorized to expend for all other expenditures. The school committee recommends $25,000.
So moved. Second?
Thank you. Any discussion on Article 12? Yes.
So that's a 66% increase over what is currently being budgeted. Is there a particular reason for that?
So if you look in the prior, you have the detailed one.
I do, I have a line item, yes.
Yeah, so, in prior
Actual, that's
years,
right.
yeah, there were
I'm
much
underfunded.
higher transfers, like 50,000, 40,000, and over that time, the the school lunch fund accumulated a high fund balance, and the MDOE came back and said, you know, you can't just accumulate all these funds in this restricted fund. So we had to do a spend down plan, essentially, and so then in the current fiscal year, we reduced that down to 15,000 to help spend down that accumulated surplus in that fund.
Yeah.
And so now we're kind of leveling out.
Is that in the restricted fund balance?
That's in a separate fund,
Committed?
totally outside of
Outside of
the general fund.
Okay.
Correct, yeah. And those, once those funds are in the school lunch fund, those are restricted solely for
That program.
the lunch program, correct?
Thank you.
Any other comments, discussion on Article 12? Okay, all those in favor? Thank you, opposed? Okay, Article 12 passes in the amount recommended. Okay, so we're moving on to the revenue articles, authorizing the school or the town to assess for educational funds. Article 13, to see what sum the town of Sebago will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and to see what sum the town will raise as the municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15688. The school committee recommends raising $2,695,249 and appropriating $3,126,035. There's an explanation there that's required by law to be printed there. I'm not going to read it, but I'm happy to read it if someone would like me to. Okay, is there a motion on Article 13?
So moved. Seconded.
Okay, any discussions, questions on Article 13? Yes.
Again, can you tell me what last year's amount was? Able to determine that from a line item budget?
I think I have that.
For the required local?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so while they're looking for that, the $2.6 million is the required local contribution that the town must make in order to be eligible to receive state subsidy.
Last year's contribution was $2,516,989. Sorry, should ask to be recognized.
Thank you, Rich.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on Article 13? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Okay, Article 13 passes in the amounts recommended. Article 14, to see what sum the town will raise and appropriate for annual payments on debt service previously approved by the town for non-state funded school construction projects or non-state funded portions of school construction projects, in addition to the funds appropriated as the local share of the town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12. The school committee recommends raising and appropriating $0.
Motion to approve Article 14?
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Any discussion on Article 14? Okay. All those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Okay, Article 14 passes in the amount recommended. Okay, Article 15. So Article 15 by law is required to be done by written ballot. And the clerks have a ballot box back there all set for this. Did they hand out ballots when you checked in? Yes. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to this. To see what sum the town will raise and appropriate in additional local funds for purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 28, Section 15690. The school committee recommends raising $2,177,491 and appropriating $2,183,864. And they give the following reason for exceeding the state's essential programs and services model by $2,158,864. It's because of debt service payments, further pre-K development, substantial increase anticipated for special ed and outsourced transportation costs, and increase in deferred facilities repair and maintenance. Again, there's a statutory explanation there that I won't read unless someone would like me to, and it seems like the school committee put an explanation about some of the numbers below that too. Is there a motion for Article 15?
So moved.
I think it's been moved and
There are
seconded.
two motions as a motion and a second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on Article 15? Yes.
Where could we find the line items for those particular details, the debt service, pre-K development? In some way, there must be a budget for those items.
Those are all in the detail line by line.
Okay.
Yeah. It's,
Broken up by
It's broken up,
various
yeah.
cost centers.
That's on the website.
It's pretty hard to probably break out just by looking at it here.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, those numbers should be on the school website as well. There was a detailed line item that
It
was.
was, okay.
Yep. And last year, we had allocated $2,105,926 for that additional local share.
What was that number again? Rich?
$2,105,926. So year to year, there was a 3.4% increase.
Thank you.
Any other questions? There's discussion on Article 15. Okay, seeing none, we're gonna vote on this, and again, we're gonna vote by written ballot. So you can check yes or no and drop your ballot in the ballot box in the back. Okay.
I'm just gonna open it so everyone can see that there is nothing in the ballot box. Not even a spider.
Okay, so we'll just take a little recess while you guys vote.
John, I have lots of resources and gifts.
You have what?
I have lots of resources and gifts. I'd like to have them. I don't see me working again, and they're just sitting in my library.
I would accept them.
And I can give you something you might want to have that you can give to parents.
What's that?
I can give you a list of the books that I want to loan out to parents.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just to make your life a little easier.
Yeah.
Mom can make it.
Yep. I can do that while I'm trying to change the battery. No, this is gonna run out, and I'm like,
More clean, more clean.
I think you found it, right?
no, I was seeing the battery die. I'm like, what would this be? Because you know Kathy's getting all this.
Analyze this, analyze that.
That's my. Oh, really? Yeah. I like They don't stick around.
Everybody. That's what we paid the tax.
I'd like to do some work on something next month.
Okay, so we'll come back to order. The results were 21 yes and no, 5 no's. So Article 15 passes in the amounts recommended. Article 16, to see what sum the town will authorize the Board of Directors to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30, 2026, from the town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, funds for non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 28, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of the schools. The committee recommends $5,309,899.
So moved. Second?
Thank you. Any discussion on Article 16?
No discussion, but I just want to maybe offer an explanation how that amount was arrived at. It includes all the expenditures, the total expenditures, backing out revenues received, so it's a net amount, correct?
Yeah, if you add up the numbers in Articles 2 through 12, they should equal that number.
Yeah. Just want to be sure everyone's clear.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other discussion, comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of Article 16? Thank you, opposed? Okay, Article 16 passes in the amount recommended. So we've approved an annual school budget, operating budget for next year. We're going to move on to these other authorizations. So Article 17, shall the Sebago School Committee be authorized to expend such other sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school purposes, provided that such grants, programs, and other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. The school committee recommends a yes vote.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on Article 17? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you, opposed? Article 17 passes as written. Article 18, in the event that the town of Sebago receives more state education subsidy than the amount included in its 2025-2026 budget, shall the town authorize the school committee to use the additional subsidy amount and expend beyond the amounts approved for expenditures in the preceding articles? The school committee recommends a yes vote.
So moved. Second?
Thank you. Any discussion on Article 18? Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Article 18 passes as written. Article 19, shall the town authorize the school committee to transfer amounts exceeding 5% of the total appropriation for any cost center to another cost center or among other cost centers for the 2025-2026 fiscal year? School committee recommends a yes vote.
So moved. Second?
Any discussion on Article 19? Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Article 19 passes as written. Article 20, shall the town authorize the school committee to appropriate up to $50,000 from unassigned fund balance at the 2024-25 fiscal year end to the existing capital improvement reserve, and to authorize the school committee to expend the reserve's funds as it deems appropriate for its designated purpose during the 2025-2026 fiscal year.
So moved. Second?
Thank you. Any discussion on Article 20? Yes.
Why would we want to approve such a thing if we only have 10,000 in our assigned fund balance? And we're trying to build the fund balance.
Basically, we spent it this year out of the reserve account, so we're
Oh,
trying
you're
to.
just putting it back?
We're just
Replenish it.
replenishing it
Yeah.
because we had to spend some money on some boiler work
Yep.
and removal of the oil tank, so.
Yep, get it.
It doesn't
Right.
take out anything additional from fund balance, it's basically just a
Transfer
reclassification.
funds.
Yeah.
Thank
Any,
you.
anything else on
Good,
Article
that's a
20?
good question. We're just replenishing.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of Article 20? Thank you, opposed? Okay, Article 20 passes as written, in the amount recommended. Article 21, shall the town authorize the school committees to expend up to $100,000 from the existing unanticipated cost reserve funds as it deems appropriate during the 2025-2026 fiscal year? School committee recommends a yes vote.
So moved. Second?
Thank you. Any discussion on Article 21? Yes.
Can you tell me what the unanticipated cost reserve fund balance is presently?
Yes.
It's $100,000.
100,000.
Any other questions on, or discussion on Article 21? Okay, all those in favor of Article 21? Thank you. Opposed? Thank you. So Article 21 passes as written. That's the end of our business for tonight. I want to make a few more remarks. The superintendent asked me to kind of address this, this budget question. When did the town withdraw from 61?
18. And in your backup information this is for information when it comes to voting, because this hasn't been done before.
So there's I think a copy of the warrant
Yes.
that has the two ballot questions that'll be presented on June 10th. So Article 1 on that is basically you approve what you folks did tonight. And that's a yes/no vote. The Article 2 is, so we're doing a two-step process. This town meeting followed by a referendum. The second question is asking, do you want to keep doing this second step? And so if you vote, if we want to continue it, then we'll just keep doing this. If you vote no, then next year, what comes out of this meeting is it. That's it. And I just by way of explanation, this question is supposed to be, by statute, this question is supposed to be asked every 3 years. And I think, after the withdrawal, that just didn't happen. So this is the third year on that cycle. And just, we're doing the best we can, and basically this is getting back on the cycle and getting in sync with the rest of the schools in the state. So that's why this question suddenly appears. Any question about that? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. I like this system you have personally. I'm not a voter, but it has to be brought to your attention every 3 years. That was my charge, and I wanted to make sure you knew that.
So one last comment. I want to thank the ballot clerks for doing a great job tonight. And that's it. I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor of adjourning? Thank you. Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned at 8:05.